to the fourth and long-winded bonus podcast. Today, Dan and I are going to be talking about the March Madness tournament, which I am pretty excited about. I know Dan is probably more excited than me. He's a bigger college basketball guy than me. So that's what we're going to get into today. Dan, what do you want to start by talking about?
You want to start with these playing games? Because I think I'm actually pretty excited about those before we actually get into the tournament.
Yeah, sure. What's your take?
Pretty excited for this Michigan State UCLA matchup in the playing game. It's going to be exciting to see two of the best coaches in the country, Mick Cronin, former UC coach, obviously, out there at UCLA now. He's slowly turning that UCLA program into what Cincinnati is or was, I guess. And then Michigan State, who had a rough year. They really struggled with COVID and injuries and just consistency, but they got really hot at the end of the season and beat like Illinois, Michigan, and I'm forgetting one. They beat another like top 10 ranked team in the last 4 games of the season. So they're coming in hot. I'm looking for Michigan State to win this and then continue and win another game into the tournament.
Yeah, the only thing I really have to say is Mick Cronin is a heck of a coach.
He really is.
I mean, he didn't turn around UC because UC wasn't in like necessarily a bad spot when he took over. But what he really brings to the table is he's scrappy. Like he's a guy that
brings a style.
I mean, he has a freaking brain aneurysm for a reason because he's on the court screaming the entire time. And that's kind of something that you don't always want, but he brings the right level of excitement and the right level of energy. I loved having him at UC. It was really, really, really hard to see him go, but we always knew that like the perfect job was going to be where he would end up going. And I think UCLA is a dream job. So
it is. I just don't think his style fits what UCLA. I think it fit perfectly at Cincinnati, but
I don't think either because UC you really had to scrap to win. Like the guys that they were getting, they're good, but they're not like the top level talent that you can get from UCLA. And so like UC Cincinnati can win and they can have really good years, but it just I tend to agree with you, but if I was asked to coach UCLA basketball, I would take that job.
Oh, 100%. I'm not saying he shouldn't have taken the job.
Yeah.
100%.
So that's going to be exciting. That's going to be a good game.
The only other exciting play-in game is going to be the Wichita State Drake game. I mean, yeah, it's good for the 16 seeds. They get to play an extra game. The winner gets to play 2 games, but I really don't care about 16 seeds unless you're UMBC. But Wichita State and Drake is an interesting matchup. Can't lie to you, I hadn't watched a lot of Drake. I know they were like 25-4 or something like that. So they have a ridiculously good record. I think they got beat by Loyola Chicago in their conference tournament. But they're definitely a decent team. I picked Wichita State to win this, but that's more based on main value of Wichita State than it is anything else. But should be a fun matchup nonetheless. Let's move on. Unless you got anything else to say on that.
I kind of sort of have something to say about one of the playing games, but more or less, I kind of wish that Michigan would have been. I wish the committee would have just been like, yeah, Michigan's the number 1 overall seed, just so we can see them play App State. Because I think that would have been funny.
I mean, they still could have worked it out because I mean, Michigan's playing a play-in a 16 seed as well.
Yeah. I kind of wish that would have happened. I wish the committee would have been, little asshole.
I don't think App State's going to win, but
no, I don't either. But I think it would.
I think Norfolk State's going to beat App State. But let's get on. Okay. The West region. This is the number 1 overall seed, Gonzaga. A lot of people's favorite to win the championship. They're my favorite to win the championship. I have picked them to win the championship in my main bracket. The main reason is the 2, 3, and 4 seeds Gonzaga beat like in the first month of the season. They've already beat they beat the 2 seed Iowa. They beat the 3 seed Kansas. And they beat the 4 seed Virginia. all in like the first month of the season. And honestly, we got COVID concerns with Virginia and Kansas anyways, so they might not even play. But I think it's a pretty easy run for Gonzaga to make it to the Final Four.
Yeah, I think that they make the Final Four. I think so. I have them in the Elite Eight, playing Kansas, and
Interesting.
I think that's my current pick. I play with my main bracket up until the games start. Oh look, it's the kitty. He wants to be in the podcast too.
He wants to talk about upset picks. I have a couple upset picks.
Okay.
I don't know about you for this region.
Yeah, so I don't know. I have Gonzaga in the Elite Eight. I have them beating Kansas right now. That could change. So we're gonna see. Well, we're gonna see what happens there. But I do think that Gonzaga is a really strong team, and they had a much stronger schedule than they've had in the past. And I think that kind of really makes a difference.
Yeah.
To me, at least, that makes a difference. Because I'm a college football fan and strength of schedule matters.
I mean, they've always kind of had a decent. They always play the preseason tournaments, end up playing a top 5 team. It seems like every year. So, but then they get into the WCC play, and then that just drops their strength schedule every year because it's like St. Mary's is the only good team to play on a regular basis.
Yeah.
But I thought it's interesting you have Kansas going to the Elite Eight because I have Kansas actually being upset in the second round by USC.
Ooh, okay.
Evan Mobley is going to be. I think he's going to have a breakout tournament. He's probably been the best player in the Pac-12 all year. I think he'll break out and they'll make a run into the Sweet 16. Other than that, I got a pretty standard. I got Gonzaga winning it, like I said before. But that's all I have for the West region.
I don't have any interesting picks there. I up and down in that column. I pretty much picked all the higher seeds.
Watch out for Oregon. Oregon can make a run into the Elite Eight. Dana Altman's got him. Dana Altman's got him cooking at the right time, I think. Even though they just lost in the Pac-12 championship.
My dad has Oregon going to the Elite Eight. I just had dinner with him and talked with him about the bracket. He's in our bracket pool.
Oh yeah, nice.
Yeah,
looking forward to beating him. All right, let's move on to the East region. The number 1 seed in the East is Michigan.
Go blue.
Cody's would Michigan be your third favorite school? Would it be Bowling Green?
Yeah, Michigan's definitely my third favorite, and
is it BG first?
I consider myself to be a loose Michigan fan. I'm loosely a Michigan fan. I'm not a huge big Michigan fan, but they're probably my favorite Big Ten school. But yeah, I'm excited to watch them. I've been watching them all season, but I honestly don't know what to do with them in my bracket because their best player's hurt. So
it's arguable who the best player is. They're a really good team. I mean, Hunter Dickinson is this freshman who's just insane to watch, but Isaiah Livers is definitely an important player. I think they make it to the Sweet 16. I have them make it to the Sweet 16, losing to Florida State. I think Florida State and Hamilton.
Yeah, Florida
State's a great team. And then this is probably my biggest upset part of the bracket because I'll have Florida State and Texas as the Elite Eight matchup here. I think Texas comes out of the lower part of this bracket. Shaka Smart, 10 years. Did you know it's been 10 years since he made that run with VCU to the Final Four? I think that's a coincidence. I think not. So I picked Texas to make it to the Final Four out of this region. I think Alabama loses.
I honestly don't think that that's a ridiculous upset because Texas's offense and defense in the KenPom ratings are in the top 20, both of them.
Yeah, they're really good.
Every team that has won the NCAA tournament since 2000, except UConn, had both of their offense and defense in the top 20 in the KenPom ratings.
What was it, UConn 2013, 14?
Yeah.
That was the Shabazz Napier run.
Yeah. Yeah. And so that was like the one time since like 2000 that's happened. So I mean, that's not an awful pick. I have Texas going to the Sweet 16 as well. And then I have them losing out to I actually have Alabama making it to the Sweet 16 as well. And I have Texas losing to Alabama.
To what, you got an Alabama Michigan Elite Eight matchup?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
See,
That's right now.
It's pretty fair.
I have enough
It's not
confidence
exciting.
in Michigan. Sorry, go ahead.
No, sorry, I was just commenting.
Yeah, I have enough confidence in Michigan. I think Michigan beats Alabama and makes it to the Final Four. And I have my Final Four right now is Virginia, Michigan, Baylor, and San Diego State.
Virginia and San Diego State.
Yes. They're
Jesus
16.
Christ. I have San Diego State to make it like to the Elite Eight, or no, Sweet 16, but I don't have them go that far. That's kind of crazy. I'd be very, very surprised if that happened.
Every team, I'm going off statistics this year when I'm making my bracket, but there's 5 stat categories that every single NCAA champion since 2000 has had. And I couldn't tell you what they are. I was reading up on this. But it's like free throw percentage, field goal, bunch of like 5 different stats. And Michigan, San Diego State, and then a bunch of random one team conference schools have those stats in their regular season. So I think that says something. We're going to see.
Yeah.
I probably am going to change that because I am looking at my bracket and not liking it. So that's my current.
I have one last thing to say about the West region. The East region, Michigan region. My dark horse pick to win the national championship this year is going to be UConn, that 7th seed down in that bracket. Here's why. This lines up almost exactly the same as what we just mentioned earlier, the 2014 run with Shabazz Napier to the national championship. They were a 7th seed back then in 2014. They're 7th seed now. They're in the exact same portion of the bracket, the lower left, as they were in 2014. And their best player, Boonite, something like that. I don't know how to pronounce it, but you'll know his name I guarantee after this weekend, you'll know his name. And he might be the next Kemba Walker, Shabazz Napier, and taking UConn to a championship game. You heard it here first.
You want to know what I think is funny about March Madness?
What?
You know that there's like this meme, and I don't know what show it's from, but it's a guy like right next to a dartboard, and he's got his like crazy conspiracy things, or it's not a dartboard, like a corkboard, and he's like something like that. That is what I feel like looking like finding little stats and like ways.
Dude, I think
justify having a team like that. That is what I just imagined you doing with like UConn.
I mean, I told you earlier, I have the bracket memorized already. I could literally go through every single matchup just looking at the camera straight in the eye and read off every single name. I'm freaking insane about this tournament.
Well, I'm so glad that we have someone so knowledgeable. You want to move on to the next quadrant?
Yeah, let's move on to the best region in this tournament, the South, and that's only because the number 4 seeded Purdue Boilermakers are in this region. I'll definitely get into my my own Purdue Boilermakers, my thoughts on them here in a little bit, but I definitely want to talk about Baylor. Baylor, I haven't watched a lot this season. I have watched a few games, and they look pretty potent. And
they're probably the team that I've watched the most of this season. Yeah.
Okay. Let's hear it.
I mean, I've just watched. For some reason, I like the Big 12. I don't know.
Big 12 was good this year.
But in football and in basketball, for some reason, I'm just a Big 12 fan. I like watching them. And I have been quite impressed with Baylor. I forgot that, they were a basketball school. And every year I forget that they're like really good at basketball, or at least decent.
They've really only been good these last couple years.
But like it was a few years ago that they hit like number one, and I hadn't been paying attention at all to basketball, and I saw that they were number one. And I was like, is that a typo? And then that's when I started paying attention to Big 12 basketball, and Baylor in particular. So I've watched a couple games of theirs. I didn't watch their last game against Kansas, but they kind of got like dicked against Kansas.
See, I'm not worried about any team that loses in its conference tournament. I'm pretty sure you can go over the last 8 or 9 years and only 1 or 2 teams have actually won their conference championship or conference tournament championship and gone on to win the national championship.
Well, I'm not saying I'm concerned about it. I'm just like raising that as
no, I get it. I just wanted to put that point out there.
Yeah. But that's really all I have to say about Baylor. I'm interested to see how they do. Let's see where I have them going out at. I have them making the national championship game at this point.
I think that's a solid pick.
Yeah.
I personally have Ohio State coming out of this bracket and making it to the Final Four.
Okay.
I really hope that Purdue is there in the Elite Eight to meet them and potentially beat them for a third time this season. Purdue's already beat Ohio State twice this year. Yeah, we lost in the Big Ten tournament.
For Purdue. I have Ohio State losing to Florida.
Okay.
Because
a rematch. Is it a rematch of the 2007 national championship?
So I have them losing to Florida. And the only reason I have them losing to Florida is because I got into a conversation with our friend Brian Pavlonis yesterday. And I said that I don't really have a team this year in the tournament. And he was like, of course you do. Root for the Buckeyes. And I was like, just because you said that, I'm going to now make them lose to Florida.
Understandable. If I picked these games based on how I felt about these schools, I would definitely have picked Oral Roberts over Ohio State in the first round.
Great.
But actually seeing and knowing how good Ohio State is and can be really with, EJ Liddell, Dwayne Washington, they have national championship potential. It's really only if they can live up to it. I do want to talk about Purdue for a second because they are my number one team. They are the 4th seed in this bracket. They're playing North Texas in the first round. I'm really excited about this Purdue team for the next 2 years. Not so much this tournament because they're super young.
Yeah.
I think they start 3 freshmen, Jaden Ivey. No, they actually only start 2 now. Jaden Ivey and Mason Gillis. But they also have Brandon New. They have so many freshmen that are getting playing time. They don't have a senior on the team. I expect them to make it to the second weekend and play Baylor and lose to Baylor in the Sweet 16. I think that's okay. I'd be happy with that. Knowing that looking forward to next year, we're probably going to be preseason ranked in the top 15. And they're going to be really good next year. So I think anything at this point is gravy on the Purdue season because I've been pretty happy with it.
I think their potential matchup with Villanova is not necessarily I don't think that they're going to lose, but I think that that's going to be kind of a tough matchup.
See, Villanova's missing their star, Connor Gillespie. He's not going to be playing at all. I actually have Villanova losing to Winthrop in the first round. I think Winthrop will shock Villanova.
Interesting.
That's more because I think Purdue would beat either one of those teams if it came to it. I more picked that pick because I figure everybody else in our bracket. Yeah. Well, everybody else in our bracket is going to just pick Villanova and move on with it. So I'm going to try to change it up.
I think every year since 2000, there's been all but 1 year or something like that. At least one 12 seed has won in the tournament. And then there's been a couple years where 3 of the 4 12 seeds won. So that's the matchup that you want to pick as one of your upsets.
Yeah. I definitely pick at least one 12 seed every year to upset a 5. And then I always have one of the play-in teams. Whoever wins the play-in, one of those teams always wins another game.
Right.
So my pick this year is Michigan State to beat UCLA, and then beat BYU, I believe they would be playing in the first round.
Yeah, I think that would be a
round 64.
pretty easy to pick.
Yeah.
So I think, is there anything else you have in that bracket particularly?
One last thing. Watch out for Texas Tech. That's it. I have Texas Tech making losing to Ohio State, but I think they could easily beat Ohio State and make a Final Four run.
They have
Watch
a solid
out for Texas Tech.
foundation too. In the next
final region,
my upset, and I guess it's really, I mean, it's not an upset because they're a higher or a lower seed, is I have Loyola Chicago beating Georgia Tech. I think that Loyola Chicago is going to be a pretty solid team. I think they're going to be better than they were, and I don't think they'll go as far, but I think that they are a better team now than they were in 2018. And plus, they've got the sister Jean, I think, is going to be traveling.
Why is she going to be in the bubble? I feel like that's
because this is sports, and COVID doesn't affect sports, Dan. Don't you know?
Okay. All right. Sorry, I'll shut up.
And plus, I think she's vaccinated.
Probably that makes sense.
So, yeah, that's my one. I don't.
So do you have
really?
Do you have Loyola beating Illinois? That is the real question.
No, I do not.
See, that's a popular pick out there,
but I don't think it's going to.
Yeah. See, I think Illinois. I think it's either going to be them. I think this bracket in particular, I think, is going to be the stock bracket where what's the word I'm looking for? Where all the higher seeds or the lower seeds win. So I think it's going to be Illinois and Houston in the Elite Eight, and I really can't make a pick on that game right now. It could go either way. I'd probably pick Illinois right now because they're probably playing the best basketball at any team in the country, off winning the Big Ten tournament.
Goodness, I watched. So Cincinnati got. They deserved to not be in the tournament, but they lost.
Almost got there.
Yeah, they lost in the American to Houston, and it was a bloodbath. The game wasn't close from the first minute that they stepped on the court. And
Houston is really good.
Really good. Because Cincinnati is, while they weren't the team that they usually are this year, they lacked cohesion. They lacked a lot of things, but they have talent on the court. And that was what kept them in a lot of games. They just have guys that have talent.
Yeah.
And Houston just destroyed them, shut them down. So that was one that was hard for me to watch. But also, it was really impressive. Like, if I wasn't a Cincinnati fan, I'm like, dang, this team is cooking. But also, I think that, they haven't really been tested this year. Like, I don't think the Americans really that strong this year. It was almost a one-team conference.
It was definitely. Well, UConn really came on at the tail end.
UConn's not in the American. UConn is an independent.
How?
UConn decided last year, actually.
Are they in the Big East? Because there's no independence in basketball.
Oh, yeah. I think they must be in the Big East. Yeah, they joined the Big East in basketball, and they're an independent in football. Because after the 2018 season, 2019 season, during the 2019 season, they submitted to the American that they were going to be leaving to go return in all sports to the Big East and be an independent in football, which, it makes sense for them. They're really first and foremost a basketball school. Their football team, they should just shut down their football team. The only reason that they aren't going to is because they invested a whole bunch of money to build that really nice stadium that no one goes to, and it sits in snow all the time.
Yeah.
So
I can't believe I forgot about that. I guess it's a valid point, AAC, but we can say the same about Gonzaga, and I don't think anybody's.
No, exactly. I think basketball is a different kind of sport. You don't need to play these absolutely difficult teams to be an absolutely great team.
Yeah.
And I think that that's what makes March Madness so fun, is that really anybody could win. any game.
Yeah.
And I think that's the fun part of March Madness. Do you have anything else out of that bracket? Like I said, I have right now San Diego State in the Final Four from that side, but I honestly do think that I'm gonna change that. And I have who do I have there? Yeah, I have San Diego State beating Houston, and now that we've talked about it, I think I'm gonna change that to Houston. But then it would be Houston versus Illinois, and that's a tough pick. Don't know who I'm gonna go with.
Yeah, and right now, I'd take Illinois, so I put Illinois in my Final Four spot right now. I think a team to watch with a big player to watch, especially if you're an NBA fan, looking forward to the draft, is Oklahoma State. You probably heard of Cade Cunningham. He's really come on this last couple of weeks now, and they're playing well. And Oklahoma State's a dangerous team if Cade Cunningham could put the team on their back. I actually kind of think that they'll blow out or get blown out by Tennessee in the second round, or maybe not blown out, but I don't think they'll make it past the second round. I just don't think there's a big reputation of these, or a trend of these schools that aren't really known as traditional basketball powerhouses who get these one and done stud draft picks. They don't really seem to do well in the tournament. I remember, I know he was hurt, but Michael Porter a couple years ago from Missouri made the tournament. They lost to the first round. I just don't think. I think there's a chance that that's just big disappointment, but they could also make a run to the Final Four. So that'd be the other. And Buddy Boeheim, Jim Boeheim's son, playing for, or maybe it's his grandson. I don't know.
I think
playing for Syracuse.
I think an interesting team to watch is actually going to be Oklahoma State's opponent in Oregon State.
They're playing Liberty. Oklahoma State's playing Liberty.
Oh,
Tennessee's playing Oregon State.
I think Oregon State is
I know this shit.
My bad. I think sorry, I was just looking down at my bracket and I have Oregon State playing Oklahoma State in the second round. But I think Oregon State is playing pretty good basketball. They won the conference tournament and they've got some momentum. Also, that was the first time that they've ever won their conference tournament. So that's kind of exciting, I think, for them, and they're going to want to keep it going. And I don't think Tennessee's necessarily that good. So,
see, I don't think Oregon State has a chance. I think
that's fair.
They spent their load, and
they're my 12 seed that I have. And I think
what was it, Winthrop, and UC Santa Barbara over Creighton. I have 2 12 seeds winning this year.
Okay.
Observation. Go ahead.
I think something interesting about this particular tournament is it's the first time ever that Ohio State, Oklahoma State, and Oregon State are all in the tournament.
All the OU.
So we've got a lot of O schools.
That's great.
It's going to be fantastic.
Another observation is specifically about this Midwest bracket, this Illinois bracket. If you notice, they concentrated every single team that is main color is orange in this bracket, other than Texas. You got Illinois, you got Tennessee.
The bracket.
Yeah. Yep. You got Illinois, Tennessee, Oregon State, Oklahoma State, Syracuse, Clemson. And then, like, if you really want to stare at Loyola Chicago's, you could convince yourself that's orange. So, I mean, they just put all the orange teams outside of Texas in this bracket, which I thought was cool.
And they also, like, did a lot of reds. Like, you got Houston, Rutgers, San Diego State.
Yeah. Other than that matchup between West Virginia and Morehead State, where they're both blue, mostly every other one is either, like, orange or red. It's kind of funny.
Yeah,
just looking at that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
All right, so let's start to close this up. So my final 4 picks right now, public on this podcast: Gonzaga out of the West. I have Texas out of the South or the East. I have Ohio State out of the East or the South. Yeah, the South. And then I have Illinois as of right now out of the Midwest, with Gonzaga playing Illinois for the national championship and Gonzaga winning.
I have just went back and changed my Final Four. My Final Four is Gonzaga versus Michigan, Baylor versus Houston.
Okay.
And then
I like it.
I currently have Baylor and Michigan in the national championship game, with Michigan winning 84-83.
So, okay. I remember at the start of this podcast, you said you didn't know what to do with Michigan because they were missing their best player, and now
on this bracket I had them winning it all, but
But you're concerned.
Yeah, I'm concerned. Okay. Like
you're not that concerned.
No, I'm not that concerned, but I'm concerned. Like, I only blew $20 on this. It's
concerned would be out in the second round, like out in the Sweet 16.
Oh no, I think
I'm concerned.
I think they're at least going to make it to the Final Four.
Okay,
that's my concern.
I am even more concerned about Michigan than you are, because I don't even have them making the Final Four. So I don't even have them making the Elite Eight. I think they're done.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you everyone for listening.
This was fun
and watching. I know this is a little different than our normal show, but we appreciate you liking and sharing our content and following us on Twitter and Facebook. Those links are going to be in the bio, and subscribe to us on YouTube.
Comment down below with your national championship picks and your upset picks. We'd like to know.
Thank you.
And tell you that you're wrong.
You're gonna be wrong.
Bye-bye.